Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host, Scotty McCoy, and boy, do I have a surprise for all of you. I have on Zoom with me right now Ann Myrna. Did I say that right?
Yes.
There we go. And let me see. So you've been in a lot of stuff, but today we're going to be promoting Night of the Dead Sorority Babes, where you play Angelica Grace, and you are also playing Madeline in Perfect Soul. And if I'm not mistaken, you are also the producer of both films, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Absolutely. So that's great. So how are you doing, Anne?
I'm really good.
I lost count on how many times you've been on here, but I love having you on.
And I love being here because you are so organized.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So. You've been, like I said, you've been on it quite a few times. So if anybody wants to know what you really been into, like what your background and that, they can watch those other videos as well. So we'll just get right into the nitty gritty and just kind of start off with Perfect Soul and Night of the Dead Sorority Babes, and like where did those ideas come from to become what they are?
Well, they come from the creative mind of Steve Herman,
Hmm.
who is my business partner. So he and I are owners of Acrostar Productions. And sometimes his ideas are just unique things that, start bubbling around in his head. And sometimes they're based on books that he's written. So Night of the Dead Sorority Babes is just a brand new idea that got cooked up. I think he was watching USA all night or something like that. And kind of reminded him of the 80s. There were a lot of sorority babe kind of shows that were on at the time, and he asked a couple people, like, do you think we should do one of those kind of things? And we're like, well, of course, as long as we can kill people.
That's the best thing is killing people in a fictional world.
Absolutely. So that's just a whole brand new idea. And then Perfect Soul is based on a book that Steve wrote, I think about 6 years ago, of the same name, Perfect Soul. And that's available on Amazon. You can get it for Kindle or get it in, I think, either hardback or softback. Um, and that's a story of, and we've been crafting our marketing language, so I will read the description of it.
Yes.
Up against a backdrop of religious reverence, the town of Perfect unravels as transgressions are revealed and historical roots take hold and wreak revenge.
Mm.
So that one we're calling like a horror thriller, and it has some supernatural elements to it as well. And that one will go into production this coming weekend is our first filming. We're going to do just several select scenes and then put that together into an Indiegogo campaign to raise funds to produce the entire film, which would shoot then in June and September.
Awesome. So you know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be having you back in June, closer to June and September, so we can promote this. Even if you want to
Absolutely.
go after when it gets closer to release, we can even have you back. Because this is my last semester at grad school. So once I'm done this semester, I'm going to be really free.
Oh, congratulations on that.
Well,
That's a
thank
big
you.
achievement.
Thank you. Yes, I can't wait to finally graduate, and then I can start a part-time position teaching at the grad school. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I took one class in grad school and like I was working full time at the same time and I'm like, this is nuts. I
Yeah.
dropped out, like I
Yeah,
can't
it
do it.
really is. I'm working full time, grad school part time, and teaching for the grad school to pay tuition part time. So
Wow.
technically, if you want to count it, three jobs.
Oh my gosh.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And then on top, we were supposed to have our interview a while ago, a couple weeks ago, and my grandmother passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we had to postpone that. And I obviously I wanted to have you back. I wanted to have you on, so we definitely made a date to reschedule. And when I heard Night of the Dead Sorority, it was just that title is so catching.
Yeah.
Obviously, something's gonna happen with the sorority babes, and they're gonna die. Now, you mentioned Perfect Soul has some supernatural elements. Does Night of the Dead Sorority Babes also have some supernatural elements? Because when I hear that title, I think like haunted, supernatural ghost dead sorority babes.
Well, for Sorority Babes, Lynn Lowry and I are the ones who have started the sorority,
Hmm.
and we started it in 1900. And one
Okay.
of the girls makes a comment that, "Wow, you guys look good for your age." So, I mean, there's something unique about us.
Okay.
We kind of referred to as entities throughout,
Okay.
and we're basically trying to get revenge
Hmm.
Not necessarily on people who have harmed us, but things have happened in our past. And so the only people we have access to is the current population. So we decided to have this like fake sorority. And as girls come in, we have some nefarious plans for them.
Okay.
So there are six girls who come and, they're like, "Oh, where's the other sorority girls? Like, what is
Right.
this?" But it doesn't seem to bother them because they just really want to be into this prestigious sorority.
Hmm.
So we kind of, pick them off one at a time. And then there are some twists in there, so things are not as they initially seem to be. And then it kind of winds up at the very end with, like the next batch of sorority
Hmm.
girls coming in. But there is, yeah, some murder and mayhem does occur.
Nice. Nice. And you mentioned that like you and Lynn Lowry, you both are the ones that started the sorority. So what can you, I guess, tell us without giving too much away about your character, Angelica Grace?
So I'm kind of like the silly one. And
Hmm.
Lynn and I are sisters who started doing this,
Hmm.
and she is very, business minded about this whole thing, this whole sorority thing. And for me, it's more of a game, and I kind of get a bit of a rush out of what we do to these different girls. And it's something like Lynn and I talked about ahead of time, as because as when we went through the table read, we both just kind of read it, kind of like sombering and evil type of thing. And then it's like we sound like clones of each other. Like we can't have that. That's really boring. So what could we do to differentiate those two characters? So I really appreciate her, taking the time with all her vast acting
Yeah.
experience to, spitball some ideas about how we could, give some uniqueness to each of those
Hmm.
two characters. And she's a blast to work with. Super, super sweet, very calm, doesn't get rattled by things. Basically the shoot went very, very well.
Good.
But we had 8+ crew in an Airbnb for 7 days. Like
Oof.
things could have gone kind of
Yeah.
get a bunch of women together. But
Yeah.
everybody was really cool, very supportive of each other. And everybody came prepared, with their roles and exactly what they needed to do. And then Angel Bradford co-directed with Steve Herman. Angel and Kelsey Livingood did special effects. So we do have some really cool special effects in there. And very, very, very different than what
Hmm.
you would see. Like everybody just doesn't get their throat slashed, for example.
Right.
Kind of made it a little more unique, a little more specific to the story that was going on. But every character has a
Hmm.
backstory, and like you even feel a little bit for Lynn and I, even though we're doing some destructive things,
Hmm.
we have our reasons, and those are revealed in the film.
Nice. So that's definitely a good teaser because and that's another thing. Angel, first of all, Angel's amazing, not just as an actress, but with special effects. She's really
Yeah,
great. And as a human, like she's just a perfect, like a really great person.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't wait to see what she brings to this because I don't want to watch a movie and see, like you said, every death is a throat slit, or every death or half the deaths are off screen type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want something interesting to catch, to keep that audience in. You're watching a horror movie, you're watching it for the kills. I mean, you're not really watching it, for a lot of other things. That's what horror movie, you want to
Hmm.
see the kills. That's what a lot of
Exactly.
people like. So, yeah. And
Exactly.
now regarding Perfect Soul, you're playing Madeline. So, what can you tell us, like, without giving too much away of what to expect from her?
Um, Madeline, I always get these like disturbed characters. Madeline's got a little bit of an issue. She has lost her husband,
Hmm.
and it's a very religious town. It's not a religious movie,
Hmm.
but it's like a religious backdrop to the story.
Okay.
So everybody in the town is like super Christian.
Hmm.
Everything revolves around the church and the pastor and, giving to the church, even though a lot of the parishioners have hit on hard times. And it's a very, very small town. And Madeline has lost her husband,
Hmm.
and she is kind of trying to find that husbandly affection in another person that makes the whole situation like totally inappropriate.
Oh man, yeah, that's great, and yeah, you do get a lot of those characters. But let's be honest, those are fun characters to play.
They are, yeah. It's kind of cool to just because you do have to think about kind of like what your backstory is.
Right.
Why are you acting the way you're acting? Like it's not just memorizing the lines and memorizing the blocking. Like, why would you even be doing that in the first place? And
Hmm.
then that gives you more depth when
Yeah.
you deliver that character. So, yeah, I'm gonna have some fun with that.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that acting isn't, like you said, acting isn't just coming to set, prepared by memorizing your lines. You have to know your character. Like, if you're playing like Slasher Scotty, like who is Slasher Scotty? What kind of person is he? Yeah, that person is fleshed out and he's different than Scotty McCoy. You know what I mean? So when you're playing Angelica Grace, that Angelica Grace is different than Ann Myrna. So, yeah, you have to think of how this character is and you have to give it its own personality. It is its own person, a fictional person, but its own person. And a lot of
Mhm.
people don't realize that it's hard to actually give that character a personality because you as an actor have to deal out that personality, but Steve Herman is the one say that wrote it. So, he's the one he knows what that vision is for that character. So, what can you tell us about how you get into that role? What gets you into that mindset of that character? How do you give it that personality?
Well, I mean, there's various acting techniques out there, but
Mhm.
I like to think about kind of like who the person is, what relationships they have with the other characters, where did they come from, kind of put those pieces together, and then to have the right emotion at the right time, I try to connect the emotion that I want to something that has happened in my personal life because I've
Mhm.
already felt that emotion.
Mhm.
So I take that personal instance, think about it in my mind, and then that kind of like helps you
Mhm.
evoke the emotion that you want for a
Yeah.
specific scene.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of actors do that. I know when I do some roles and if I have like a sad scene or a crying scene, I usually think of my dad because he passed
Yeah.
away from brain cancer, so I think of that and that gets me there.
Yep.
I can hear my dad. He's like, use me, use me.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like it's not cool that you have to tap into your own
Right.
like pain like that, but it
Hmm.
comes across very authentic if you can do
Yes, absolutely. Very
usually the
natural.
hard part is turning it off at the
Yeah.
end. Like once you reach that painful point,
Yeah.
well, it's like, okay, reel it back in now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So going into your role as a producer, what do you specifically do? What are your job titles for these movies as a producer?
Well, it's indie films, so you tend
Hmm.
to wear a lot of hats.
Hmm.
So I can tell you like what's going on right now for Perfect Soul because we're going to be filming Saturday and Sunday coming
Hmm.
up. So I have I've taken the scenes that we want to do. I'm also first AD, so those tasks kind of crisscross a little bit. So I take the scenes that we want to film. I do what's called a breakdown. So you're looking at, like where's the scene going to take place? Is it day or night? Which actors are in it? What
Hmm.
props do you need? Is there any SFX that's needed? And I work in Excel because I'm a nerd. I used to be a computer programmer, so I think
I'm a
it's
web
good.
developer. I know it.
I think in spreadsheets. And no one else in my group can understand my spreadsheets whatsoever.
I completely get it.
But eventually I turn that into a call sheet, which is what they're
Hmm.
used to. But a spreadsheet lets me see, like how often I need a particular
Hmm.
person. So I've got each of the characters going across the top and I put a little X if they're in that scene,
Hmm.
and then I've got my notes off to the side. So then I can kind of group scenes so that I make the most efficient use of everybody's
Hmm.
time. And there's a lot of factors that go into that, like whether the scene is inside or outside, day, night, all that kind of stuff. So I do the call sheets. For this production, I got my old sewing machine out from the
Oh.
80s and I made an accessory for a costume piece because there is a flashback. It's
Mhm.
like way back in time. And I tried ordering something and I was sent the wrong thing. And then I was worried that if I just sent it back and said, well, send me, what's really in the picture, that I might get the same wrong thing again. And all I
Yeah.
needed was like a collar accessory type of
Hmm.
thing. So I made that on my sewing machine. I have stuff piled up in my dining room at the moment for set decoration. Because again, it's a very religious town.
Hmm.
My parents were very religious and they had a lot of old religious paintings
Hmm.
and crosses and statues and books and things that I had kept in my basement because my parents are gone. And I
Mhm.
just, I didn't have the heart to put all that stuff that was so important to them out on the curb.
Mhm.
So it's a good thing. So
Yeah.
when I need
Yeah.
set decoration or props, I go hunting in my basement first to see what I can use. And that keeps our costs down.
Yeah.
I did have to buy a few things, but like I look on, it really depends on what I need. Facebook Marketplace, Amazon, some of the
eBay
overseas
might have it or
websites
something.
for
Yeah.
wardrobe if we need it. We try to get wardrobe either from, again, we're small, we have low budgets.
Hmm.
Maybe the actors themselves might have something if it's not like a period kind of a thing.
Right.
Like one guy, he just really needs to wear his jeans, a
Hmm.
t-shirt, and maybe a flannel over
Right.
it because he's going to be acting like a plumber when he's there,
Right. And you
like
can easily find, like, if you don't own a flannel, you can easily find one of those like at a thrift store or something like that.
exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, we do a lot of that for wardrobe. Trying to think what else I have piled up in the dining room. I have some of the filming equipment that I store here. So
Hmm.
like we have this gigantic light stand that weighs 38 pounds. I hate carrying that bad boy up from the basement, but I did that today. And then I also do crafty or food services
Okay.
for the cast. Again, to save money. Like we've never been
Yeah.
able to afford to have food catered.
Yeah.
Sad to say. So the nearby store where we're filming is Walmart. So
Hmm.
I will, I check the aisles that the stuff is in ahead of time so I can just kind of like get in and get out.
Hmm.
Although they don't always have what they say they're going to have. That's what I ran
Yeah.
into last time. So I had to alter my menu a little bit. But yeah, I plan the
Hmm.
menus for the days. I,
Right.
find out from the cast if there's any food sensitivities, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
That's always the hardest part of the allergies, and you have a lot of people that might eat meat, and then you have that one or two that might be vegan or vegetarian. You know.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I respect what everybody wants to
Absolutely.
do food wise and stuff. And that extends to snacks and stuff as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, and then I actually do decorate the sets. Sometimes we film night scenes during the day.
Okay.
And we have blackout curtains and, we're clamping them onto
Hmm.
windows and stuff like that. We don't like to make people work like in the middle of the night. And
Yeah.
maybe it's because we're older and like we get tired and crabby. I don't know, versus the youngsters. We do have some night scenes with this one on Saturday. We will
Hmm.
be outside and we're hoping that it's warmer than the weather forecast.
Yeah.
Really should be a clear day. Um, and yeah, we just like the overall planning and everything, I kind of do. I have support from a lot of people, and a lot of folks are, really willing to pitch in and like help me get all the junk out of my car and stuff when we
Hmm.
first arrive.
Right.
But yeah, basically we kind of use Airbnbs as filming
Hmm.
locations. I always clear it with the owner, the
Hmm.
host person, it's because I don't want to get kicked out in the middle of a shoot and then lose
Yeah,
my life.
exactly.
Um, so yeah, we've got a really good team. Our actors are
Right.
very dedicated. They show up and they're prepared and they're ready to work.
Awesome.
And then, like directing style, Steve is pretty like a very calm
Hmm.
director. If he sees something that he doesn't like, he's definitely going to ask people to adjust. But
Hmm.
he likes to let the actors kind of own their
That's good.
characters. And we do go through table reads and stuff ahead of time. So if anybody was just like, way off the rails, that would get caught early in the process.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we find that it goes pretty smoothly, and we're usually able to get through everything that we have scheduled in a
Awesome.
day. If we have to move things around or make adjustments, we do. But yeah, it's usually a
Hmm.
pretty smooth process. But we're always like nervous ahead of time because like we want everybody to also have fun. Like it's
Right.
work. We're there to work, but we
Yeah.
also want people to enjoy it and want to come back and work with us again.
Absolutely, and even especially with outside scenes, that always made me nervous personally
Yeah.
because there's so many variables that can go wrong. Weather, the
Well, sometimes it's
environment,
just the wind, like
the
it's
wind.
hard to
Yeah.
get good sound sometimes outside.
Yes.
It's too windy. And this house is right next to a cornfield, so
Oof.
and there's no corn now.
Yeah.
Break the wind. So
Yeah.
yeah, we did some filming in January at the same location, and we had a
Okay.
little trouble with the
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll be taken care of and it won't be too windy for you guys.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and we can always, like we tuck on the side of a building or
Yeah,
whatever, we ADR the audio if we have to, I mean,
yeah,
there's solutions to every problem, but we just
absolutely.
we just hope to minimize the number of problems that we actually have to deal
Yes,
with.
yeah. If you can minimize the problems, then there's less solutions that you need to find, which is always a good
Exactly.
thing. So we've obviously talked about Steve. I had Steve on the show once, and he's a great guy. So how did you guys meet to have this partnership with Acrostar?
Well, I ran across Acrostar Films several years ago, probably 3 years ago. They were filming Morium, which
Hmm.
is, he put it together as a web series. It's based
Hmm.
on a trilogy that he wrote, so 3 books. And I saw that there was a casting notice, and there was somebody kind of in my age group. I was a little older,
Hmm.
but like you go for it because you never know.
Yeah.
Um, I auditioned and he did not cast me. And I was so interested in the story because I went ahead and I got the books on Kindle. And I liked the writing style and everything. And it was kind of another like supernatural type
Hmm.
of a story, but there was an underlying like message. There was like an anti-bullying message
Yeah.
with a particular set of stories. And so I just kind of kept up with them, found out, asked if I could help in any other ways.
Hmm.
And so I conducted some interviews with the cast at one filming location. And then he asked me if I wanted to be a producer. And I did not go to film school.
Hmm.
Like I have a math degree. I was this nerd programmer, did web design and stuff, and just kind of later in
Yeah.
life, kind of my retirement career was getting back to the
Hmm.
arts, which, like I was in plays in high school and stuff like that.
Right.
Um, so I actually had to Google, like what does a producer do and talk to him to
Hmm.
see like what parts he wanted to do and what parts maybe I should do. So I enjoyed doing that under Acrostar Films, but then
Hmm.
I'm like, you know, you make this money on Indiegogo through crowdfunding, and if you don't have a business that's going
Hmm.
into, then that's income to
Yeah.
you. You got to pay taxes. You don't have all the expenses to offset that.
Hmm.
Um, this should be an LLC. So we started talking about partnering to actually form an LLC, which is what we
Hmm.
did. So
Nice.
that is how Acrostar Productions came to be.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that you're a programmer because I'm a programmer too. So I love that. Like, that's so amazing. I didn't realize we had that in common, which is so cool.
And it's funny because now this goes back to when I was first coming out of college and interviewing with people.
Hmm.
Um, I was interviewing for programming jobs, but they looked for people who had some art in their
Hmm.
life. And I had played the piano since I was 5 years old. And like I said, I was like in chorus, I did plays and stuff in high
Hmm.
school. And like that was one of the reasons that I got job offers was because
Hmm.
I could do the technical stuff, but they found that people who have some sort of art in their
Hmm.
life have like a different kind of persistence to be able to
Yeah.
solve those technical problems.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like a combination that really shouldn't even occur, but
Right.
actually it's actually a very good combination, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, I work for the US Coast Guard. I was promoted back in October to the VP of Cloud Programming, and the reason why when they first hired me as the senior web developer, and you know this, and all of the people watching this know this, I have a very bubbly personality,
Yep.
and they knew I had the skills. They knew I had the experience. They knew I had this, that, and the other. The reason why they hired me wasn't because I had the experience or the skills or anything. Is because I could bring like humor and laughter and excitement to the office.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, well, I'll take it. I mean, why not?
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up, I have a couple more questions. Just one of them obviously is the Indiegogo. Is there an Indiegogo for the Night of the Dead Sorority Babes? And I know you said there's gonna be one for Perfect Soul. Just like if you want to promote that, if there's anything to expect or how they can find it when it comes out or when.
Yeah, right now, there isn't an Indiegogo for either one. So Night of the Dead
Okay.
Sorority Babes can be seen on some streaming platforms.
Hmm.
That is distributed through Bayview Entertainment,
Hmm.
and they have it on platforms like Zumo, Fandango at Home, Plex. I can't remember what else. But yeah, if you just Google the title,
Hmm.
then it'll take you to platforms, and they're continuing to add platforms
Okay.
week by week. So we don't have a crowdfunding for that right now, but they are also putting together Blu-rays for
Okay.
us. Lynn, Lowry, and I are actually going to be at a horror convention, Cinema Wasteland,
Nice.
in beginning of April, and I will have Blu-rays of Night of the Dead Sorority Babes there.
Great.
We can sign. And Perfect Soul, we had a really small crowdfunding campaign just to help us with this weekend filming that we
Hmm.
have coming up, and that one is closed. So the result of the weekend filming is going to be a teaser, an Indiegogo video from
Hmm.
Steve, and the cast, and some scenes that we can then add to the campaign as it goes
Hmm.
on. So that will probably launch toward the end of March. But if people want to keep up on what is going on with Acrostar, the best way is that we have a Facebook group, and
Okay.
it's called Indie Film Productions from Acrostar Productions, something along like that. But if
Yeah.
you look on Facebook for Acrostar, or if you go to acrostarproductions.com, we have a
Hmm.
link to the Facebook group from our website. So that'll be where we'll initially post things. And, we hope to do better with this campaign than we have with others because we want to put more into the film. One of
Hmm.
the things that people tell us that's a compliment, but I don't really like it, is, oh, you do so much with so little. Um,
Hmm.
and that's great. It's really hard. And we'd like to be able to show what we can do with more.
Right.
So, we're going to hope that we can have a budget of around 40 to $50,000
Yeah.
for Perfect Soul. We're pretty good at getting 15, like creeping toward 20 kind of thing. And we can do the film for that.
Hmm.
But some of the special effects that we want are going to be a little bit more expensive. We
Hmm.
might have we want to have a few video special effects in there as well, some digital ones, just because I refuse to have fire on the set. And it would be nice to be able to see fire in some of these scenes.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, look for that toward the end of March. But yeah, we need to just
Yeah.
put all those pieces together, and we're doing photography for the poster.
Hmm.
So we have like a temp poster that we've been posting, but it
Yes.
doesn't really convey the essence of what the film is about.
Absolutely. Well, let me know when the Indiegogo goes out. I'll definitely share it for everybody
Oh,
that is
will
watching
do.
this. So,
Appreciate
check out
that.
Slasher Scotty and S. McCoy, Scotty McCoy, the author fan page as well, where they're public pages that if you want to check those out, you'll be able to see the Indiegogo when I share it. Trust me, Acrostar gets their stuff done. Like that, like Steve, like when I see it, like, damn, Steve, like you're rolling them out.
Yeah, yeah. Last year was crazy. And we're going a little slower pace just because this Perfect Soul is very important to him
Mm-hmm.
personally because it's the first time that he's adapting a novel
Hmm.
to film.
Yeah.
He's adapted short stories to film, and then he's like invented stories for feature films. But it's kind of like his baby.
Yeah.
And that's one thing as an independent author, he always wanted to do was to be able
Hmm.
to see his books
Yeah.
on the screen. So this is kind of the first like full-fledged
Yeah.
effort at that. So we're gonna do it
Yeah.
upright.
And that's even better because he's getting to make it his own film. He's not tied down by a production company like by
For sure.
Hollywood. He has creative control. He says what goes in. He says what doesn't go in. And that's always the
Absolutely.
best part.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, if you read the book, the film is essentially going to be the same story, but there are
Mhm.
things that happen in the book that, again, just from a budget perspective, we
Yeah,
can't pull off. So,
absolutely.
it does get modified a bit, but
Mhm.
it's still gonna be like, kind of an edge of your seat type of thing. There's twists
Mhm.
and turns in it, because he's a good writer.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And the last question I got for you, and you kind of went into it a little bit, but any other projects, social medias, websites, anything at all that you guys want to promote to the listening viewing audience?
Well, we have already selected a feature film to do for next year, but we're just
Hmm.
not talking about it yet.
Okay.
Because again, we want to, put our best foot forward and make the best first impression when we
Right.
do release information about that. So we'll start to do a drip campaign more toward the end of the year and probably
Hmm.
launch that Indiegogo in January of 2026.
Hmm.
But yeah, look us up on acrostarproductions.com. You can find the films on IMDb, and then from our website you can see our Facebook and our YouTube channel as well because we've got all the content that was Acrostar Films and Acrostar Productions.
Hmm.
There are like trailers and things
Yeah,
on the YouTube channel.
absolutely. Well, thank you, Anne, for joining me.
Well, thanks so much, Scotty. I'm so glad we got
Absolutely.
together again.
Absolutely. And before I let you go, I just want to let everybody know, if you're watching this, of course, follow me on YouTube at /Scotty. Hit that subscribe button, slash that, bell notification icon, and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at S McCoy Author or slash Scotty. On Twitter, I'm /Scotty1. Of course, I want to promote this quick. I have three books currently out. I don't think it's gonna show, but
Hold it right in front of your face.
right, yeah, right in front of my face. Let me see if I can turn this off. This background quick. Maybe if I blur it. Almost. I always have this issue.
Yeah, it's funny with the
There we go,
background.
none. There we go. So there we go. So here's the I have a Tales of Halloween anthology book series. This one's the first book that I released, The Clown on Maple Street. I have The Scarecrow's Curse and The Harvest Moon Witch. And coming out in a couple of weeks is going to be The Vampire That Dreaded Sundown. Yes, you heard me right. That dreaded sundown. Read the book to find out why you dread sundown. They're all shorter stories. They're all anthologies, so they all are separate from each other. So if you don't want to read the first two, but you want to read about the witch, you can read about the witch. I also have the Antique Doll coming out in, I believe, April, I want to say. Yeah, April. And then I'm working on the next book, which is called Blood Moon, which I was writing earlier today, and I that's probably my favorite book I've been writing so far, about basically a group of ritualists. There's teenage ritualists. They're going to basically speak to the dead and raise the dead on Halloween during the blood moon. Instead, they accidentally revive the goddess of the blood moon. Her name is Athena, different from the other Athena. And while she was released, so was her, like, the person that was the true goddess of the blood moon, Luna, and she is trying to stop the evilness of Athena. And in order to do that, she needs the teenagers who resurrected her to find the five orbs to create the orb of the blood moon, so she could get her power back and basically put Athena back into damnation. So I can't. That's coming out really good.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But thank you again, Ann. It's awesome. And I will love to have you back on again. I don't even know how many times you're on, five or six at least. And I definitely want to keep having you on because I always have so much fun having you on my show.
Oh, thanks, Scotty. We
Yeah,
will see you
absolutely.
again soon then.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I will have this up probably tomorrow. It'll definitely be won't be tonight because I have two meetings, one tomorrow from 9 to 5 and one Wednesday 9 to 5. So sometime tomorrow, maybe during lunch break, I'll have it posted. I'm going right to bed once I get off here.
All righty. Yeah, just
All
tag me.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. You have a great rest of your night.
All right. Thanks so
All right.
much.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.